How do I know as a beginning investor when to jump in? What keeps people out of the market is pure laziness. Most people work not 40 hours. Most people work 50, 60 hours. Right now, we're in a world where it's very volatile based on the decisions our president makes. Interest rates, employment rates, all of those things. It's probably cheaper for you to borrow money through a margin account than it is to borrow from the bank. It's a big undertaking to get smart about investing.
All right, everybody, we got another episode of Raw Relentless here, and I have got Med on. Med, thanks for joining me, man.
Happy to be here, Bo. It's very exciting for me. And let me introduce myself. My name is Med Yacoub. I lead marketing at Tradesk. My personal passions are I have a great 12-year-old daughter, single dad, and it's an exciting time. Happy to be here. And I'm excited to talk a little bit about Tradesk, about myself, about my passions, and what brought me here.
Yeah, great. So can you tell everybody a little bit about what Tradesk is, what it's all about?
Absolutely. So Tradesk is a mobile-first retail broker dealer. We cater to young new investors who have really been intimidated by joining the market or investment. And what we are looking to do is really educate, empower, and put the tools together so to make investing a little bit easier and kind of become partners to investors. I've personally been in marketing for quite a time and heavily in the regulatory world. My career has been in healthcare, pharma, and banking. Now with investment, I've also, been a little bit on the e-commerce world. I call it e-tailing. I've been in back when it was called e-tailing, and that's probably aging myself a little bit. And I'll even age myself even more. My first job out of college was about.com, if you remember what they were about.
Yeah.
So back literally 2000 in the boom. So what really drove me to, and all the things I've done digitally, or as a marketer, what really drove me to finance or banking was it's more of a partnership with customers, a long-term partnership. Mm-hmm. When I was doing e-commerce, I worked on Cross, I worked on like Forever 21, different e-commerce brands. When I was in the agency world, you're doing a one-time sale. There's no real long-term with it, right? Yeah, you did a cross-selling and whatnot, but with banking, you're building a long-term relationship where as the investor grows and gets educated, the more that they're investing, the more the brokerage firm is making money, right? Mm-hmm. Our success is based on the success of the investor. So I see it as a real partnership, not as a customer-client relationship.
So what sets you apart from, like, say, a Robinhood or a Schwab app?
So the real Schwab is, and Fidelity and some of these bigger names, right? They're catering to big wealth, right? They're not, yes, to have educational information, but they've matured, right? We're a little bit still in our infancy where the customer voice still matters, right? We're shaping our product, and we have product releases every Monday. Our product releases are shaped by the voice of the customer and what they need to empower them. And what we really try to do is put tools in place to take the intimidation away, right? Not having to have to time the market, right? Simplifying tools that simplify, mm-hmm. and tools that are there for the beginner, but also there for the novice and expert investors. So one of the things that we've done is, and this may sound like, okay, a lot of people have this. So for us, I think about it in terms of recurring investments, mm-hmm. right? Or thematic trading. When we think about, sometimes an investor has to really time the market, really think about which company they need to look at or which security they really need to look at in order to make that educated decision. Mm-hmm. So we look at themes. So you don't have to identify one organization, one security to make that decision. right? So you're looking at it from a portfolio standpoint. And, if you're looking at how do I not time the market? Right now we're in a world where very volatile based on, decisions our president makes, which could be one today, a different tomorrow. And that drives the market. So,
Like the
one
interest rates just this week, they decided.
yeah, interest rates, employment numbers, all of those things take, tariffs that change from today to tomorrow based on deals. It makes the market very volatile. How do I know as a beginning investor when to jump in and when am I going to get, if I'm going to take a bath or make a killing?
So does your platform strictly a buy sell, or are you able to do options or some of the other stuff?
You're able to do all of those sort of advanced things. But what the greatest thing about it is, with investors, a lot of our investors are new, right? New to investing. And you could tell based on what their initial deposit sizes are. And I remember myself, when I graduated, I went to college at Arizona State. When I came back to New York,
That was
2000, like I said, 2000, I'm aging myself. I'm 48. So when I came back to New York, first job, about.com, I wasn't depositing my entire check in there. I was about hitting the bars, going out, having a good time. So what was my first investment? A couple $100, right? I didn't know anything about investing, but I knew E-Trade was the first company out there.
Yep.
Right. And, I still have an E-Trade account, even though I have one with Tradesk and I have one with Robinhood. And so you mature. And as you mature and as you hit different milestones in your life, your investment sizes grow, right? Or your priorities grow. And my priorities from when I was about hanging out, still going out 3 nights a week, to, getting engaged, getting married, getting divorced, having a child, moving out. All those things were milestones where I had to shift my spending habits, shift how I'm thinking about wealth or retirement as a single parent, right? Now you're not dependent on 2 household incomes. Or a lot of those things shape us. So when I think about how an investor comes in, a new investor, and they're just depositing, $250 or $500 or $1,000, right? That could be all they have. And once they gain, right, they lose that intimidation and they gain a little bit of education, right? And they trust the organization and they trust the platform. Their growth becomes our growth. And so that's what we're driving to do, is being able to give them the tools like recurring investment, like thematic trading, to just, dangle your feet in the water.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Get your feet wet a little bit without feeling like I need to watch CNBC 6 hours tonight.
Yeah.
And I need to watch Jim Cramer lightning round in order to get the buy or sell or hold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's actually a funny meme that goes around the internet a little bit that talks about if you would have actually bought Jim Cramer's investment advices, you would be underwater. Investment.
It really is. And I'm not just calling Jim Cramer. I'm just saying that, you don't have to do all of those things, right? We're trying to empower you to just make, get educated, make your first investment, get comfortable, lose that intimidation factor, and get smart about it. And that's what the platform is about.
What about automated trading? Are you guys capable of doing that?
So that is automated. So one of the things that we have right now is we're launching an AI feature at the end of the third quarter. Right. One of the things that we do have to be careful about is one of the guidelines with compliance and being a FINRA regulated organization is we cannot make recommendations. Even when it comes to our AI platform, right? It's not like going to ChatGPT and saying, okay, well, here's the market, here's all these things that are going on, here's the interest rate, here's the job market, what it looks like. Can you make a recommendation based on all these factors? And it might throw out a few tickers at you, a few securities. We unfortunately cannot do that. We can only do that, and this may be down down the road in our roadmap of having what you call a robo advisor. We'd have to have a financial advisor kind of in place to be able to make those recommendations. But as a retail broker, self-managed account. We can't do that. And FINRA calls that entanglement, right? We can't really make recommendations on one security over the other. And even when you look at AI right now, as I'm just speaking to it because it's the buzzword, right? If you look at thematic trading and you look at all the companies under AI, they're not the companies you would think. They're all household names. It's Google, it's NVIDIA, it's Apple. Everybody's involved in AI these days, right? So they're not the organizations that one might think of that are up and new coming, or just startups. A lot of those, yeah.
I actually interviewed another person that does trading on the podcast, and his website is strictly just like stock pickers, right? So they have all of these algorithms that test different securities to see how well they're doing, where do they think it's going to go, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like what you're saying. It's an educational platform that helps investors decide where to put their money if they are doing, the blue stock trading and whatnot. It's pretty cool. And it's cool how like your platform and platform like his are incorporating AI to kind of even further educate investors and trying to get even the novice investor involved into trading as another way of generating wealth, beyond a 401 or an IRA.
Yeah, and I look at it from my perspective as even my friends, right? I'm sure you have this too, right? Everybody's got maybe their 401k or IRA that they're doing. They've also got a little slush fund on the side with their, little retail broker account where they, they're in their group chat. They're all kind of talking together of what they should do, and kind of, whether it's options or what the, coolest next crypto coin is, kind of get involved. As maybe 10 years ago, those group of guys were talking about fantasy football. Now they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Who's got time to manage a fantasy football team now? Really nobody. So what's the natural segue to that is, as I get into my 30s and 40s, or even beyond that, is to get involved, start getting investment, investing in that, taking that, doing the take. And I'll kind of completely give candor on this. I had a lot of friends who weren't finance. I didn't come from the finance world. I came from the sexy world of marketing and advertising, right? And so that wasn't my natural speak, my natural language. So I didn't have the luxury of AI to give me answers, or living it day to day in my work life.
Right.
And naturally for me, that's how I kind of ended up at Tradesk. How I ended up at Tradesk was, it just seemed like a good fit. I knew it had to be a time for me where I needed to be a little bit more disciplined about my finances, my wealth, or lack of. How do I, I was making one, how do I get there? And so for me, it was a natural fit. And that's why I'm a little bit more passionate about it. Not only do I get those great dopamine hits of building an organization from scratch, right? But it also gives me dopamine hits to see our customers learn, invest. And those same dopamine hits, I'm sure the clients or investors get when they see their money double or compound, right? And they are now confident in what they're doing, right? Those things are personal for me, and it's personal for me because when I took the role here, it was about, okay, if I'm around thought leaders and thinkers like this, it's naturally going to rub off on me. Like, I now, by design, right, have to wake up and hear CNBC behind my head, right? Or watch it on my second screen while right behind me. I have to kind of think about different strategies. I do it for fun now. Like the other day, I'm sitting on the couch and, I'm looking at what's going on with trades and the tariffs, and trying to understand the angles. What trade strategy is going to take advantage of this? How much do I need to invest to be able to, you know, get enough? There's going to be enough juice in the squeeze,
Yeah.
right? But being in our platform will help you exercise into that thought process. And some of the things that our platform offers is paper trading. Even if you don't have the confidence yet to trade your own money and make the initial investment, you could start using live securities to make trades, right? And do that exercising. Like from what I understand, right? You're a gym operator, right? You operate a gym. Every time somebody goes in there and does reps, right? The way that their bench pressing gets better, their technique gets better, right? They're going from one machine to a more advanced machine. They're going from machines to, weights, which take a lot more finesse and technique, right? And so help me kind of segue into that same world of, us offering, paper trading or recurring investments, things like that, and giving you the opportunity to at least start trading and exercising those muscles. Those reps are going to reap rewards as long as you are committed and maintain that flow.
So when you say paper trading, are you saying like actual live trading or just like a dummy account that you could just practice?
It's a dummy account. It's a dummy account, but with live trading, with live data.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's helpful for a person. It exercises, the way to read charts, right? The way to look at data, right? It helps you exercise and take a look at, we recently launched, maybe a couple of months ago, we launched insider trading. So you're able to see on charts on a specific security when trades are made by insiders, right? So it is not even a joke. Every Monday we release a new app, and sometimes I, even as an employee or somebody that's heavily vested into the success of Tradesk, look at it as like, oh, I have to download the app again. But every time you download it, right, it's because of the customer's voice that those changes have been made. And so you asked earlier what differentiates us from all our competitors or, the incumbents. What separates us is that we're still small, we're still nimble, we're still fast to market with changes. You don't have to navigate an organization of 1,000 to get things done.
Right.
Right.
So with the paper trading account, how much does the user get to start with?
I think it's about it. I think it's limited. It could be about like $5,000.
Okay.
I haven't been there in there, but I can certainly do that, and we can make those changes. But that's the one thing about investing, right? It's not about the amount; it's about the percentage, right? Like whether I have $10,000 or $1,000 or $5,000, right? It's about how do I allocate and diversify those dollars, right? $5,000 in my strategy is, 5 different securities. How am I allocating them percentage wise, regardless of dollar amount?
I learned that very young. I remember took all of my graduation money when I graduated high school, and I went in and I opened up a TD Waterhouse account. And at the time, my boss that I was working for used to day trade. This is when day trading first started getting popular because the internet connections were getting a little faster than dial-up. He was using not DSL. What was the one before DSL? Anyways, he was day trading in the back office, and he was like, I would talk to him about the stocks, because I was interested in that stuff. And the 2 main companies that he told me that I should look into was was the company that sequenced the human genome. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but that was in the late 90s when they did that. And then the other one was a company that developed lasers, but they developed a laser that could literally inscribe on a strand of hair That's how fine the laser was. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll try with them, right? But I bought in the hype, and when I bought in the hype, man, it was like 2 months later, all my money was gone because they didn't
And,
diversify, like you're saying.
and that's what it is. It's like for instance, yesterday I uploaded a blog into our site. It's not live yet, but it's about hedging,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or using options to hedge,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of this educational information is, and I'll tell you what our next 5 blogs are that I actually, submitted yesterday, and just so you can get a sense of what we're committed to. So, hedging with options, protecting your portfolio from market vitality, how to read a stock chart, a beginner's guide to stock chart analysis, taking options to the next level, mastering covered calls, straddles, and other advanced strategies.
Mm-hmm.
What is margin accounts, the benefits, risks, and how to use it responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Stay ahead with insider trades, how to monitor inside trading for smarter investing. So a lot of these things that we're putting into place is about education, right? The natural advancement as a trader, as it would be, as I'm sure it overlaps with weight training or exercise, like in your business,
Mm-hmm.
and doing it correctly, right? Like even with margin and options, right? We have to educate. We have to kind of be responsible. When you look at like what happened, back in the game with GameStop,
Yeah.
right? Everybody was on margin. People got
Yeah.
slaughtered,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so you could look at that historical uh, data of not being responsible, right? Taking tools and just running with them. What we're looking to do. We don't want, and it's not that we don't encourage investors that are new to market to kind of go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is not good business for us to have somebody come in, deposit $10,000,
Mm-hmm.
take margin, then have a margin call, and then that's not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We want, it's not what we want. We encourage. We want success for our investors. We want long-term wealth because it drives the success of our investors drives the success of Tradesk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the affinity. Naturally, if I have a bad experience with one company, or if I went to the casino yesterday, MGM, and lost 10 grand, I'm going to say MGM's the goddamn worst casino,
Yeah.
right? Naturally, right? Whether they suck or not. And it was my irresponsibility because maybe I was drinking that night or partying and I had one too many beers and
Mm-hmm.
decided to play one too many hands of blackjack, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, it's going to be that because, right? But if there's corporate responsibility and education, and for us, that's a big aspect of what we want to do: become partners to our investors, educate, align with wealth and the growth of what they're looking for. Kind of, and I'd love to kind of hear your story a little bit about. You said you started investing and you got slaughtered after your first job. Talk to me a little bit about
Slaughtered.
your nightmares and your wins and losses, and what are you doing now, and like what would you look for in a platform? It would be in the next investment platform, and where do you see kind of a gap? I mean, I'd love to take.
Yeah, I think that's a multifaceted question. I think one is if you are going to do this, kind of like the whole premise of what you've been saying the last 20 minutes or so is you got to educate yourself. You got to understand what's behind buying and selling securities, right? Especially if you start getting into options, then doing calls, and if you get into shorts or margins. I mean, there's so much to it. If you're going to do that, you have to educate yourself and you have to understand how the market works. I think that's number one. For me, I'm such a busy individual that that's kind of why I asked about automated trading, because it would be nice to be like, having a platform that one, educates, two, maybe gives advice. Like, I know you said that you can't do that, but I'm sure there's some way around that. Some type of advice of, here's what I'm looking to do. I want a growth strategy over the next 10 years to build my IRA to whatever, right? What would you choose? What would you pick, right? Have the system kind of give me some advice on that, or recommendations. And then thirdly is probably some automation, where if I do invest into those securities and there are multiple securities, like we're talking diversifying, where maybe I could tell the system, hey, if the security price goes below this, automatically sell and dump that money into gold or a T-bill or something like that.
So you're looking for like a ChatGPT agent
Yeah.
that's tied to your right? And so here's what I'm going to tell you, right? So a lot of the things, and this is, I see this on a roadmap, which would, some broker dealers call them robo advisors, where in order, like, again, to echo what I said earlier, in order for a broker dealer to be able to give that, there has to be an RIA, registered, investment advisor, that's on it, right? At least for some oversight, licensed, right? And once that is in place, yes, that automation does come into place. You can set your growth goals on that and have that automatic recurring investments. We do have recurring investments right now. You can go in there and diversify based on a theme and have it reallocate, to specific securities and buy and sell, because it doesn't have to be. We do fractional shares, right? So it can be, even if you had $200, you can allocate to 10 different securities.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the days where I can't get into Google for $300 because I don't have $300. You can buy fractional shares. And so our platform allows for that. But I certainly see it as something in our roadmap. I don't want to say too much yet about it, but it's coming. It's coming. Cool. Because that's what people are demanding. I believe what keeps people out of the market is pure laziness, right? It takes a lot. It's a big undertaking to get smart about investing.
Yeah.
Right. It's a big undertaking. Most people work not 40 hours. Most people work 50, 60 hours.
Plus they got to take the kids to soccer and make sure they're
exactly right. There's a lot of things. Where's that time? Right. So by empowering with these tools, I think even with the age of AI right now, right? Yes, we have those tools. Like if you go, at the end of the Q3, we're launching our AI product, and you're going to be able to see every day. I look at, our grayscale right now, and it gives you, before the bell. So I've got all the information that I don't even need to ask it, but it's giving me permanent information that I'm at least, right, can be able to speak on smartly that day, just with half a dozen bullet points. Those half a dozen bullet points, if I'm reading them every day and I'm exercising, going into the app and re-engaging, and my behavior is there naturally, it's natural. It's like drinking coffee now. You're going to pick up the patterns. You're going to pick up, right, the anomalies. Right, you're going to be able to connect the dots between what's happening on the news and what's happening in the market without even thinking about it. Yeah, you're gonna be able to make those correlations, and that's what we're trying to encourage. That's what we're trying to empower. And I love what you said about that automated. How do I tell it to sell or reallocate? That's very advanced, right? Like those. It's you're talking about. Specifically, like AI agent, right? Can you probably do that with the robo? Yes, and there are platforms out there, but they are freestanding platforms that you have to overlay on top of a brokerage account. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it, right? Because of the regulatory.
Yeah, there's one account that I'm very familiar with, but their limitation is they can't they can only do buy sell, so they can't do any of the other things such as options or shorts or anything like that, right? They can strictly buy sell. They've got AI built into it, so they'll create a portfolio for you, give you the recommendations. They'll back test it and let you know, like, okay, based on these recommendations, with a whatever dollar size investment, here's what you're looking over 1, 3, 5, or max time period, right? And same thing, it will auto trade, but it's strictly buy sell. So it doesn't have any of the other options like your platform does, where you can do those other features like calls and whatnot,
Yeah. And I think, I believe that, as customers or investors get smarter, right? They're naturally taking advantage of, say, for instance, it is probably cheaper. Here's one thing. It's probably cheaper for you to borrow money through a margin account than it is to borrow from the bank. All right. If I have 10 grand in my account, I can take $5,000 out in cash today. No credit check. No collateral. And my wealth is still growing because I'm still holding the securities. Right? A lot of people don't know about this, right? And
go into that a little bit deeper. I that's actually news to me. I did not know that you could open a margin account like that. I thought you had to have some type of asset as a backing.
No, the margin accounts are covered by the securities that you hold. So, for instance, and you can only practice margin if you have over $2,000 in your account.
Okay.
Right. So, say I have 10 grand. Or is it 10 grand? I'll be able to get $5,000 on margin. So now I have buying power 15,000. Right. Based on there's some accounts, I think there's a different multiple. But if I have 10 grand in securities, I now have $15,000 in buying power. Right. I can take that $5,000. I can withdraw it as cash while holding my security. I'm gonna pay interest on it. Maybe what 6% annually. Not a lot. Beats some of the interest that are outside. And if it's a short term loan, if I need that $5 grand for a week,
you're
talking pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Some people are going there, running their credit, taking a home equity loan, right, and borrowing that way. And so this is an alternative that people, some people don't know about. And, that's a product that we are are looking to push. There's some people are, unfortunately, they lack credit. They're underbanked. Right. And so if you think, even if I have only $2,000, I can leverage that. $3,000. I can leverage that into another $1,500 into buying power. And that buying power could be spending power. Right. So the only negative side to that, I wouldn't say negative, if the securities drop below a specific threshold that it's not covered, there is going to be a margin call. Right. Either you have to deposit or sell. So using the product is also using it responsibly. Right? Am I buying an equity that's highly volatile where I may have to make a margin call today and tomorrow it's going to be fine in the green? Right? Is my portfolio diversified? But again, if you look into that article that that's going to be coming out, I'm happy to send it to you later, about margin, benefits, risks, and how to use it responsibly. Right? Those things can be used, or these types of features can be used that help aid building wealth, right, in the platform and outside of the platform. And I think that's a big upside, right, that a lot of people know. I'm going to say people because you probably very experienced investors know this. But if you're, again, I didn't know it till recently. I thought, yes, I knew about margin. I didn't know you can use this hard cash loan. And withdraw it. We can. It's just like cash. It's just kind of
How long has Trade Desk been around now?
So Tradesk, we launched in April of 2024.
Oh,
A
okay.
little bit about a year and a half.
Yeah.
We're experiencing some great growth, but at the same time, there's some market conditions in there that have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
We the same $100 that where does not go as far this year as it went last year.
That's a fact.
You know that a lot of people, and so I see that maybe investing has kind of slowed down a little bit. I know for me, my $100 last year does not go as far as went much farther last year than it goes this year.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think even for me, a step out of the house cost me $100.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you live, from what I understand, you live in Chicago. I live in the New York City area, so you know, the cost of an Uber dinner or lunch is a C note.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, just going to the grocery store anymore, $100 doesn't get you shit.
No, that's a one bag.
Yeah,
That's a one bag groceries,
yeah,
and not to the top, not to the top either.
I know.
And so I feel like that the consumers have felt that.
Mm-hmm.
I've certainly felt it, and it certainly translates into probably how customers or investors are investing. But at the same time, you do not have to change your investment strategy, right? Just because your dollar doesn't go that far, right? If your investment strategy is this this diversification or allocation across these securities, right? You can still keep that percentage allocation across the same amount of securities or the same securities, just lower your recurring investment amount. It doesn't change. And that's the thing about why I push it as one of our greatest features. It keeps you in the game, right? And it doesn't keep you glued to CNBC or to the charts or following one, reoccurring stock.
Yeah.
You live and die by how it does on a weekly basis. Do I need to buy more immediately right now in order to cost average? For me, I see like what we do, at least for me, it's personal. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I I'll tell my story. I had a very contentious divorce. I took a big hit after my divorce. I had to rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
right? Naturally, it took a lot to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm fortunate that I am where I am, and surrounded by the right people and the right organization to take me to that next step.
Mm-hmm.
So it's personal for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that I do now are done with precision, clarity, and where I need to be. A lot of eye-opening things.
How many users are you guys on your platform now after just being open a year?
I can't speak to users, but I can share growth, right?
Okay.
So our growth, we've experienced about in the last quarter, about 25% quarter over quarter.
Okay.
And one of the things that I want to speak a little bit to acquiring customers
Mm-hmm.
is an expensive game.
Yeah. Are you guys running like digital ads and stuff? Is that how you're
So
trying?
yeah, we do run digital ads.
That's. I mean, even like for me, right? I run digital ads for the gyms. You're buying space. You're buying billboard space, trying to get people's attention, and people's attention is nanoseconds anymore. It's hard. It's very, very hard to grab.
It is hard, and so I can kind of relate our business to yours, right? You're in a recurring model,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what the lifetime value of a gym membership is.
Mm-hmm.
6 months, 7 months, whatever it may be, whatever the cost it is per month. So it's $50 a month over 6 months. That's $300. And maybe your overhead it's $100,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now that's $200, and maybe it costs you $100 to acquire a customer, right? So you kind of get it, but when you're looking at lifetime value and the cost, but there are sometimes areas where you're in the red for a long time before you make it. Like an organization like ours is in the red for a few months,
Mm-hmm.
for could be a year if there's no usage.
Yeah.
right? If the customer is just hanging around, no deposit, open an account, didn't make a deposit, no activity. We only make money when a customer or investor sells, buys, trades.
Yeah.
And even then, for us, we do not make any revenue on simple trades, right? We're free commission, right? The only time we're making revenue is if you're using margin, if you're using options, right?
You guys are a per transaction charge then, basically.
Yeah, but that's a pass through, right? On regular, on regular buy or sell. But there's no commissions like historically where it's $7 per trade or things like that.
Yeah.
No, pennies on the dollar, right? If you're in it, and you can kind of see that in our disclosures or site. But if you look at, it is in our best interest as an organization to educate, because that gets you into trading options. That gets you into doing margin. That gets you to be an advanced trader. And when you become an advanced trader, that's when we both win. As an organization, as an investor. It's not in the best interest of our organization for you to come in and be flat, right? And so I'm heavy on building educational product, because we can acquire 100 users. We can acquire 100,000 users today, tomorrow. But it all means nothing if we can't educate them and empower them to make investments.
Sure.
And that's really where our focus is right now.
So let me ask you, I mean, we've talked about this in the gym industry, where, okay, so here's an example. What we've done, not myself, but some of my peers, because I'm part of a roundtable of other gym owners across the US, and we get together a few times a year and just discuss best practices, what's going on in the industry, blah, blah, blah. And I really like what he does. What he does is he will, he charges an enrollment fee, right? He will refund your enrollment fee if you do, X, Y, and Z, meaning check in at least 3 times a week for the first month of your membership, go to one of his classes, go to one of the small group trainings, do a personal training session, and buy something at the smoothie bar. If you do all of those steps in the first 30 days, you get your money, you get your enrollment fee back. Could you guys implement something similar to that, where you charge some kind of setup fee and then refund it if they make their first investment in the first 30 days?
I don't think charging a setup fee for us is good business. It's hard enough. So I used, in my past, I worked at Barclays I managed the NFL credit card. And it's the same process in terms of onboarding a customer and what we call KYC, know your customer.
Yep.
Or PII, or personal identifying information. You're asking the customer their social security, their date of birth, all the things that you need to be able to report to the IRS, right? Or as if you were taking a loan. When we did it, in my previous life in the credit card industry, more people are bound to give you that information because you're giving them dollars. They gave us their information and we gave them $10,000 of credit, right? It's the opposite as a broker dealer. We get this information, but we're asking you to give us all your money, right? And that reverse aspect of it, people have to start feeling that comfort. And so they start a little bit slower. So, trying to get them to give us their money and then asking for a fee, right? I think would be a big undertaking. Where fees might come into place is something like a robo-advisor, like you talked about before, right? Where your fee might go to exercise or support that. Something like giving back. If for instance, we were to charge $15 for that, for a robo-advisor a month. Because historically, if you had it only your advisor, you're going to pay him based on commissions.
Yep.
Where this, you pay a flat monthly fee, whether it's 10, 15, whatever it may be that the organization decides to do. I don't think it's the best interest to give it. One thing that, again, I won't say too much. It's a lot. Every credit card company has a loyalty program. Not too many broker dealers do. One is coming that does. Right? And so one thing that an organization like ours can do is, hey, you open the account and you make your first deposit, you're going to get X amount of rewards. Right? We can't incentivize buying and selling because that would be irresponsible and against FINRA. But what we can say is, if you enroll in recurring investments, you're going to get X amount of rewards. Because now we're encouraging good behavior, right? If you have done these educational modules, right, you're going to get X, right? So there is something coming down the pipeline that rewards good behavior, right? And so that's where we can kind of do that giving back. Whether it's in maybe fractional shares or giving back in terms of a credit, right? Those opportunities are there. And I think that's where the segue of encouraging good behavior, right, and also giving back at the same time meet. And I love that idea about, your peer giving back the enrollment fee. It's like me. I come from the advertising world, right? I've looked at an agency before. We all know that the heavy lifting comes in the first 60 to 90 days.
Yep.
Right? Whether it's building, you have an AdWords account. I'm 100% positive you have an AdWords account, right? If you have an AdWords account, you knew all the heavy lifting came keywords, creative, right? Testing. A little bit after that, it's kind of for the next couple months, it's a set it, forget it, and monitor. Find those anomalies, capitalize on the key wins, and then move on. Right? But all that heavy lifting comes up in the front. And so I get that because rewarding good behavior. So if somebody came to me and when I was on the agency side, and we were building campaigns or onboarding new customers, and they'd be like, well, I want to do a test for 3 months. Well, if you're going to do a test for 3 months, then you're going to have to pay me 10 grand, as a setup fee. Well, I don't want to pay 10 grand. Well, then you got to commit to 12 months. Right? Otherwise, it's just not good business.
Yeah.
Because for me to come in, if I want to be successful, and I think this applies across the board, to be successful, to be successful as an investor, to be successful in an ad campaign, right? You need more than 90 days. You know that. Like if you open a gym and you only gave it 90 days, and they're like, oh, if it doesn't do good by 90 days, I'm out.
Yeah.
That would never have worked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back to what you said earlier, like if I was to go and open a brand new gym tomorrow, we are typically probably 2 years before we even break even.
Yeah.
We're running in the red for the first 2 years. So you got to commit and go in for the long haul when you do that.
And it's kind of, that time frame that you're talking about is similar to a broker deal. For broker dealer, by time, I'm going to put it this way. There's a certain public broker dealer right now that based on their earnings, they report $57 quarterly revenue per user, right? So you do the math, right? What's that? $57, so just call it 60. Under $20 a month. Right, $20 a month, 19, whatever it is, $19, $18. It's not a lot of money per month.
No, you need a lot of fucking users.
That's 50 cents a day.
Yeah.
It's 50 cents a day. So if it's at $57 per quarter, there's $200. It costs more than $200 to acquire a customer. And if you want to build scale, you got to acquire a lot of users. So it's very, it's costly. But outside of costly, I don't believe it's about just acquiring people by the numbers. And that's why I really believe in education, because if you educate, you could get to that number much faster, right? I 100% agree with your peer when you say, well, he's going to give back. I think that's great business because you're encouraging good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, okay, don't come back to me and say it's too expensive when you weren't committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
And what he's saying is you're rewarded when you make this a partnership, but if you make it a one-way deal, this is not a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that's great. What have tell me a little bit more about your experiences and what your peers and, I think or maybe I don't want to feel like I'm insulting you. Like, I think we're about the same age. Talk to me a little bit about what you've heard your peers do. I listened to your last podcast with that gentleman from I believe a British accent.
Yeah, Liam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Liam. And it's kind of interesting to hear what he said about you choose disappointment or a lot of these things. And he was always talking about wealth also.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear your take on how your peers kind of see these things or what you see across the board, because it seems like outside of this, I could probably see that we run in the same circle.
Are you talking from a business standpoint?
Business or personal, right? I'd love to.
I think from a business standpoint, a lot of my peers and my good friends, because most of the people that are in my roundtable are my good friends as well. We chat all the time, even outside of when we meet. In fact, a lot of us will get together before the actual meeting, and whatever market we're going to. Like in June, we went to Dallas. We had our meeting in Dallas, so we went in a couple of days early, and we went out and we just toured a bunch of different gyms just to get ideas, see how they're operating, blah blah blah, see what we can do better. And all of us are solopreneurs, right? We don't have partners. We're doing it all on our own. And I think that when you're a solopreneur and you got to wear all those hats, right? It's even like the guy that owns a pizza place, right? The guy that loves making pizza, decides to open his own pizza place. He's the one that's there from open to close every single fucking day of the year. He's not for years, right? And so when you're doing that, you're wearing all of these hats, you get so immersed in the business that you don't know how to work on the business. And I think that is huge for any entrepreneur, is you have to learn how to work on the business, not in the business. You got to be at a 30,000 foot view. So I think that a lot of us, my peers, myself, it's hard for us to have that mindset shift to think that we have to do everything because we grew the business to a certain point by doing everything. But in order for you to get to that next level, you have to learn to not do everything, delegate it, hire the right people to get you to that next level, right? I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozy.
No.
He talks about this all the time. He says, if you want to take your business to the next level, you should be hiring the best of the best. You should be hiring A players, because if you hire a bunch of C players or even B players, you're not going to get to the level that you desire or that you're trying to achieve, because those C and B players still make you work in the business, not on the business.
I agree. And I'll even say that as when I was in the agency world, sometimes shifting, and I started my career in digital marketing. So I started in 2000, like I said, about, right? So I've been in it for a long time. I fortunately am one of those people that can roll up my sleeves and still get in the trenches if I need to. And I understand it. And so I'm fortunate, but there were often that times where at an agency, we didn't hire the right people. And what ends up happening as a person who overseeing an account, and you're like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna get in there myself and do it, right? Yeah. Because teaching it is just it's too much, right? But I agree with that. You need to kind of remove yourself as an operator and think strategically, right? For me, even when I started at Tradesk, and I still wear it. I'm currently a sole full stack marketer. Do I have dependencies on agencies? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have some supporting staff or cross-functional colleagues? Absolutely. Am I fortunate enough that I was an early adapter of AI and I have a very close relationship with ChatGPT? Oh yeah, we've been dating for years, right?
Yeah.
And so that has enabled me to kind of move fast, move quick. But there's a certain time where I have to kind of pull away from those long tasks, like whether it's generating blogs or putting together a content strategy, right? I now have to remove myself from these tasks in order to look at the bigger vision of what are we going to do in 12 months? What's our value proposition going to be that's going to differentiate us from the Robin Hoods of the world and the Fidelities of the world and the Schwabs, right? So you're hitting the nail on the head when you say we built it alone. Yeah, I built this. I walked into the organization, there was nothing. There was full stack from the bottom up. Every single thing had to be built. Now that it is, right, it's kind of take a little step back. Who's the right person that I'm gonna bring in to support what I've already built? It's not gonna fuck it up.
Yeah. Are you guys VC backed or PE backed or?
No, we're bootstrapped, right? We have some strategic investors. We have thought about bringing in, doing some crowdfunding. That we're unsure yet. There's a lot of things that were coming in. So we recently got some licensing to be able to offer IPOs and be able to syndicate. So we're getting our tentacles wet in some areas that potentially will set us apart from those all things that are coming down the pipeline, right? A little bit outside of my area, but I know I'm excited about it because I see it. I'm in the weeds every day.
Yeah.
I'm here and I'm there, right? Like I'm doing. I could be in a meeting that's for coordinators, and I could be in a meeting that's high level, and that's kind of really what I love, right? I was recently featured in a Forbes magazine of the single CMO, and one of the greatest things about doing that is the dopamine hits that I get. Right? There's nights that I work late. I think for me, one of the greatest things is that dopamine hit. When you see something working and you get so goddamn excited about it, you're like, fuck yeah. What's next?
Yeah.
Seeing somebody like when it all comes together and everything's singing and the music's playing because you've architected it correctly and now you're seeing it. That's sometimes more rewarding than the revenue or like salary that comes from it. And I think I want that to translate over to how our investors feel when they educate themselves and they put a portfolio and they diversify correctly and they run the right strategy on an options call, right? And everything is harmonious, right? I'm sure they get that dopamine hit and they're going to be like, oh, they get excited about it.
Yeah.
Right. That's cool to me.
Yeah.
And I want that to translate over to our investors and whoever looks at us as an organization. I feel like that drives us apart, or drives me apart. I could tell. No, I'm part of a few roundtables here in the city, and just being around your peers is energizing.
It is. It really is. Yeah. I look for my meetings because it's refreshing.
Especially as a solo, right? You're running, you're sole proprietor. I'm running my marketing team, even though I have partners. I am solo. So when you get there and you're in that environment and you're hearing the wins and losses of your peers and the takeaways that are coming away from it, I feel lost sometimes if I don't make it to those round tables. I'll be frank. I feel like I'm out of the loop. I feel like I'm not even, I'm too siloed or too isolated in my own world. and I have to kind of get that it makes things refreshing and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes it exciting also.
Yeah, I agree. Med, I really appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you on in a year or 18 months from now to see your growth and see how much further you've taken the platform. I'm definitely going to log in and try it out and see what it looks like. Where can everybody learn more about you and a Tradesk?
So absolutely. So I would, right now anybody can visit Tradesk. It's TRADESK.co. And right now we are running some great new customer promotions where you can get up to $5,000 in fractional shares.
Mm.
We're also running some great promotions for options trading where there are no contract fees and no commissions for options right now for a limited time.
Mm.
So it's a great time to take advantage of what we're offering because these things are limited, right?
Mm.
And it's the summer months. Is take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Don't feel obligated that you need to. Making the deposit is great, but like take advantage of the educational material. Learn a little bit about us. Learn a little bit about investing, and I welcome if anybody wants to reach out to me. My email is med.yacoub, Yacoub, at tradesk.co. I'm happy to answer questions, happy to direct you in the right direction, right? Whether it's with our customer service or operations manager or compliance or whoever you need to, or a special message from our CEO, Eric, right? He loves talking about why he built Tradesk and why we're here and what we do.
Yeah.
And conversations like that is what gets us up early in the morning and in front of our laptops late at night.
I'll be sure to put all that in the show notes. Med, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bo. I appreciate the opportunity.